Today is Tuesday, February 28th, and you're listening to the Beer Temple Podcast.
Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.
Hello, and welcome to the Beer Temple Podcast. I'm your co-host, Mike Schlau from Is Was Brewing, and I'm here with the other co-host, Chris Quinn of the Beer Temple. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Very nice intro. Love that
Thank you.
kind of sultry tone in your voice.
I took a week off. I was on the IL, recovered, came back, reinvigorated.
Good.
Sultry as ever.
Yeah, I can hear it. That's great.
Chill vibes.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So since you were on last, we saw each other at the Beguile 10th anniversary, right?
Yeah, Beguile
and Serge was there too.
Yeah, Serge was there. Serge was chopping
Serge
it up.
is in the house tonight.
Always is. When you can tell when he is, at least.
Oh yeah, people there knew. Although
People there definitely knew.
They knew where Serge wasn't, which was on the ones and twos because there was a DJ there. Friend of the show, Wally, was DJing there, and people were like, the tunes were great.
Vibe
the tunes
is
were
good.
amazing. Fades,
I've heard better.
I mean,
I love you, Wally, but
I've
you got
heard
the
better
fade.
fades.
It's not a master fader.
When you ever seen like the pictures in like a recording studio where it's just like a panel of just like little like fade levers and stuff like that. I've seen when Serge DJs, that's what he brings with him. Mm-hmm. There's two turntables and like probably 60 to 70 fade levers.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's why we couldn't fit that many people into Swansea Day.
Yeah, he works up a sweat just transitioning from one song to the next.
It's a spectacle,
to
be honest. It's like the Rockettes kicking all their legs in a line. It's got the same with fades.
Yeah, it's true. It's amazing. I've never heard anything like it. I should say thank you to everyone who's listening. Mm-hmm. Thank you to Lumpin' Radio for having us on 105.5 FM, WLPN in Bridgeport, Chicago. Thanks to all those folks out there. Thanks to everyone who downloads the show, however you do that. Appreciate it. Thanks to everyone who's been writing us letters. Seems like letters are on the uptick again, so appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you want to send us letters, especially a handwritten one or a typed one, if anyone still has a typewriter, still the rarest type of letter we've ever gotten. Way more handwritten and printed ones. Even postcards are more common than a typewriter-typed letter, which we've gotten one of. Also never gotten one of those like dot matrix carbon copies that are like go into a Z.
Literal memo.
That'd be great.
Or mimeograph, not a memo.
Yeah. That'd be all those would be
A ditto.
a ditto with like
Send us a
blue.
ditto of your letter, and we will definitely read that on air.
Yes, without a doubt. Guarantee you that will be read.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Get a piece of merch too. Mm-hmm. Probably not clown merch because that stuff is gone.
Down to clown.
Yeah. So you asked me what was new. We'll get back to the Beguile stuff in a moment.
Yeah.
I am now a merch baron officially.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were talking earlier about your new business model.
Yeah.
And can you explain that to the people?
Well, it's put out merch that sells.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Step one.
Rely, to a moderate degree on IP theft.
Nailing it.
And have it maybe just tangentially related to beer.
Yeah.
And be kind of stupid.
So you recreated the craft beer formula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we're doing. Oh, that's right. And come out with a new one every week.
Right.
I'm sorry, that's the key component.
Yeah.
have a new one every week
New
that you
piece
have to
of
get.
lightly IP theft related merch come out every week.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the new thing.
You're killing it. You finally get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we sold out all of this run that I assumed was just going to be some of the perma merch that we sometimes get.
Sure.
We have some like
Just
scarves
around
made. And
forever.
it's just around forever.
Yeah.
And I figured that would be it too, but I didn't care because
It was funny.
yeah.
It's a great shirt.
Yeah, someone made it, and I was like, oh, that's great. There's another one that maybe I'll hint to people who listen to the show. It's even, I mean, I don't know if it's better. It's, oh, man.
Is it wild? Or is it
It's
mild?
not, it's more mild
More
than
mild.
wild. But then again, it's a little wild.
A little wild, too.
A little wild. A little wild, mild.
Yeah.
You know? So that one, there might be a,
Can't wait to tease that visual shirt on this auditory medium.
yeah. I mean, there's no way you can tease the visuals of it because they are. If you think a clown in the Cantillon chair tipping back with busted up bottles of Hill Farmstead around him
It's too specific.
Is too specific. Wait
You just
till you
wait.
see the next one.
What about the glassware I asked you to make?
Could you remind me, please?
Yeah. So we've all seen obviously the best glassware has Mega Man on it or Mario.
Oh, we should
Why don't we-
ask the listeners what we should do with that one. We had some
Well,
great ideas though.
The two that we came up with was the E.T. character from the E.T. Atari game,
Yep.
or the two main characters, or I guess it's three, but it's like the kind of 2.5 main characters from Pong.
Yeah, just have Pong on the outside
Yeah.
of a glass.
Some of the most lovable, memorable video game
Yeah.
characters.
I was thinking maybe you could do
Gold
like,
Rim, obviously.
yeah, you could do like maybe so like 8-bit is done. It's over. I'm thinking 4-bit.
4-bit.
So I'm thinking maybe Pitfall.
Or maybe,
I'm thinking maybe
maybe
that movie Combat, where you could be tanks or biplanes that fight each other.
or maybe like a text-based game like Mafia Wars. You had a TI-83
Yes.
calculator. The characters from Mafia
Drug Wars. Wasn't it called Drug
Wars?
Wars or
Yeah.
something? Yeah.
I think there was Mafia and Drug Wars.
Okay.
Both those games exist, but Drug Wars I think was on the calculator. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just have the main characters from those.
Not a bad idea.
And maybe like the Pythagorean theorem in the background.
I think that would do really well.
I think so.
And then have that printed on to something that is probably really a bong. And then-
Right. Or just bowls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or fish bowls,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Vases,
Yep.
flower vases. And then step 3, retire to,
Yeah. No, step 3 is
Aruba.
Iceman and or Boss Pour.
True.
Step
Step
4,
4 is
Instagram. Step
5,
5,
retire. Retire to some Caribbean island that you now own.
Probably that Bahamas thing that Sam Bankman-Fried doesn't live in anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
What if...
Same value.
Yeah, merch barons. So I'm a merch baron. I'm going to let you in early because you had some great ideas early on,
Sick.
so you can be part of it.
Can't wait.
I'm already in talks with the Fatheads people. They're looking to
Full rebrand, baby.
They're looking to acquire some of my ideas, if you will.
Wow.
So imagine.
This is breaking
Imagine,
news.
yes, imagine a clown in a Cantillon chair, except he's wearing wraparounds and is morbidly obese.
It's not
That's
a
all
clown.
I'm going to say.
It's not a clown, dude. We know who it is.
Right. Yeah.
He might be dressed as a clown, but you can't hide
Yeah.
the fat head from me.
Well, in this version, he'll be extremely obese and have wraparound shades on. No, or Ray-Bans, I think.
If the next time I show up, you're not like looking at the cardboard cutout you have, sketching it, trying to get an idea of what this shirt's going to look like, I'm not going to think you're serious. So
I will say I did have a piece of actual art commissioned. It's going to be it might be a year by the time it's done.
yeah,
You've seen a picture of it. I think
have.
Serge has seen a photo that I took of it.
it's awesome.
There were very few requirements for it. One of which was, I want you to make this an Easter egg, and it was the Fathead Man. So he's in there.
I'm excited for you to get your first cease and desist From the very litigious Fatheads guys.
Well, here's something, and we should try to get on some track soon. Here's something I do think about.
What show is this?
Right. So we've tried, here's a little behind the scenes. We have tried on multiple occasions to get someone from Fatheads on the show. We've offered to go to Fatheads to do the show.
Yep.
This is all true.
This is 100%
We've been
true.
denied every
Politely.
time, very politely.
Yeah.
I think he's maybe the head of sales or one of the heads of sales for Fatheads. I've somehow procured his email, and now he knows who I am.
By that you mean you started emailing Chris at fatheadsbrewing.com and Steven at fatheadsbrewing.com and Mike at fatheadsbrewing.com. One person said, how did you get this email address?
Well, no, they would all write back, and then I would see what their signature was, and then I would just keep trying till I got the right guy.
Why are you emailing me? I work in the tap room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I pulled the old Strange Brew Rick Moranis thing. Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to get the head of sales. What was his name again? I kind of do that one.
A classic move.
Yeah, exactly.
A very topical reference and a classic move.
Exactly. Do you think anyone here knows Pong or even like Combat on Atari 2600?
Pong, but we might have been getting
Maybe not the Atari 2600 reference.
What's that?
Yeah. So one thing I think about is if they ever somehow agree and then decide to listen to the show, they'll hear us mocking them. You don't ever think about that? And then we have to be like,
they're not going to listen to every show.
No,
From here on out, we have to be nice only.
right.
You know what I think is some of the best graphic design I've seen in a long time? The Fatheads logo.
Well, no. So here's, in all honesty, like, which show would you put them towards? Put them to like, here's the one we did with
IPA
Gerald.
show.
The one with Gerald, maybe, and where we're like, what are some styles that we think are really standing above? Even in that one, we clown on them. We clown on them even in that one.
They're going through a full rebrand, so maybe as part of the
True.
rebrand, they're probably going through a full rebrand because they listen to the show.
All right, so a few more things that we need.
But God save
I
Hop and
want,
Frog if
I,
they
and
ever
I
change.
I want feedback. I want listener feedback. I don't often demand it, but I'm putting my foot down. I demand it. One, we're all over the place. So one is what IP theft, video game based characters should we put on our new merch? It's going to be co-branded Iswas Beer Temple.
Hell yeah, that's what we're all about, baby.
So just what character should we put on there? Mm-hmm. And then two, any suggestions for the Fatheads rebrand? I have one. I say go. Get contemporary. Everyone's health conscious. I want him to be yoked. 6-pack. Ultimate Warrior.
I mean,
like arms.
But that's
just
unrealistic
totally
body image stuff, Chris.
Well, I mean, it's still idealized. It's the idealized human form.
I mean, is that the idealized human form in eastern Ohio right now? Maybe there's some mutations happening out there, but that's a whole other...
I'm just saying, that would be a good one. I would like to see that in the rebrand. I want to see him absolutely just shredded.
like Rambo style.
Yes.
Like...
Oiled. Yes.
I like
oiled
to see him,
and just totally ripped.
Yeah, I'd like to see him go the opposite direction.
And get fatter.
Yeah.
Not like,
Really
like
represent
Homer when Homer tries to become disabled.
Yeah. Yeah, or Homer becomes disabled, Mac tries to gain mass.
Right. So you
Just
want to,
like...
where he's no longer able to really move well. So he's maybe like bedridden.
We need to modernize it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to see him
I
like...
think in the last 12 years, people have gotten thinner.
So you want to see him immobilized due to his own weight in like some sort of a moo-moo.
I would like to see TLC reach out to them about like maybe we can do a My 700-Pound Life about this character.
Right. My 700-pound brewery mascot.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? I'll take both of those.
Yeah.
I'll take
either
either of them.
one.
Yeah. Wow.
Also,
All right.
maybe some frog feet, fins, like maybe some amphibious things, maybe a collaboration. I don't know.
Ooh. What if they just did a branding collaboration?
Just branding.
That's it.
Yeah. You know that Hop and Frog doesn't have the files anymore, though, right?
No, they're just literally photocopying
There's
old labels.
some sort of format that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they're just literally taking it to Kinko's.
yeah. Someone is really
Or
good with
FedEx office,
Someone's
whatever
really
it's
good with an
called
X-Acto knife.
I mean, hey.
Well, should we get into the segments?
Yeah. Oh, I thought the first segment was my merch. My merch.
Oh, the second segment. I think we should start a new segment called the Beer Temple Podcast reads Beer Temple's tweets.
Oh no. So this is highly topical content.
Super topical content.
This came out how long ago? I mean, we're dropping.
It says it came out at 1:25 today.
All right.
The context is that there is a meme of a dog sitting in a house on fire saying this is fine. Mm-hmm. The content of the tweet says, "How do the big beer distributors feel about craft? ? I don't know, but I do know that in Chicago, redacted, or did we say in the name or no?
So the whole thing. So, I mean, it's out there.
Reyes and the craft distributors they acquired are fully merged and assigned us a new rep, new rep across both
The ums and
portfolios.
ahs are not in the tweet, by the way.
They are. It's like a Coen Brothers script.
Oh.
Who's, quote, not super knowledgeable about craft.
Read the whole thing again. That
right.
didn't make any sense.
Sorry. How do the big beer distributors feel about craft? I don't know, but I do know that in Chicago, Reyes and the craft distributors they acquired are now fully merged and assigned us a new rep across both portfolios who's, quote, not super knowledgeable about craft. And that then comes with a dog sitting in a house on fire that says, this is fine. I think he's drinking coffee.
Yeah. So what do you want to know about this?
I
I didn't write that.
You're a big hot take
No,
guy on Twitter.
I definitely did write that.
Yeah. What prompted this, and
Was getting
what do you have to say about it? To
I had the store van at the dealership getting an oil change. Mm-hmm. Got a slack about us losing a rep. Oh, man, I got to be careful. I don't want to, all right, let me take a few steps back and try to not be a huge asshole for just a moment. It takes all my concentration to do it, and it'll only last for a little bit. So
I'll tease it
this
out
poor guy is he's the best rep we've probably had in years for either of those houses I'm talking about. We're losing him just because he's on a new route. He's probably too good at it, and now he's somewhere else. This guy has apparently got some serious heat and had a really shitty day today because of that tweet. So I do feel legitimately
rep?
bad. Yeah.
your new rep,
No.
the old rep.
Yeah.
Why would he get heat?
I mean, I don't want to, here's the thing. I even me saying that is now me, kind of divulging stuff.
But
that,
why would he got heat because he's good at his job?
No, because of the tweet, I'm saying. The tweet. So,
I still don't quite understand why that would cause him to get heat, but
sure. Right.
you did that.
Right. I
He
just
didn't-
think,
he didn't tweet that about it.
people see stuff and they yell at the closest contact to me, I
Sure.
guess. He could probably be like, I've never seen him. I've seen him twice, or I never talked to that guy. Right. So that's really the point of the tweet is kind of beside that. I just want to say that our rep is really good. So I want to put that out there. He still is our rep.
He still is your rep.
Yeah.
But when is he? So he's being resigned soon.
I don't know, man.
Okay.
I don't want to get into all that stuff.
Okay.
And it sucks. And I just don't like that. As I've said on this show many times, the distributors don't care anymore, really, like they used to. They do care, so that's not totally fair. They do care. And I know if a VP from Reyes came on and was like, we do this, I do care about that. We've grown this, we've grown that. I would say you're true. It's true. You're true. You do care. But the level of caring seems to be going down. They don't care as much. They don't want to bring in all the brands, and someone could say, well, that's unwieldy. It's just too much for them they can't rep all those brands well, and yada, yada. But they're certainly not, and they're now saying no an awful lot. They're saying no when both retailer and supplier are aligned more often than they used to, being like, hey, you represent us. Hey, that's your account. Hey, we make this beer. That account wants it. Can we ship it when we ship our other beer that we're going to send you anyway? And they'll buy it all. Nope. Yeah. Why? We don't want to add new SKUs. What about the, pickleberry White Claw that's coming out? Well, that's different.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm not saying it isn't good. I'm just saying it's a new SKU.
Oh, is it in a different format can?
That would be no, it's the same as the other ones.
Got it.
It is innovative, though.
Okay.
But it must be, I haven't figured out what the difference is, really.
Sure.
But there must be a difference.
Right, it's pickled instead of pickleberry.
Right.
Yeah.
So, for some reason, that SKU is okay to add, but other SKUs aren't. Even if it's a SKU that maybe they used to have. It's very odd.
When still in the system.
Right. Probably still in the system. They just don't want to do it. They don't want to get in the habit, maybe. This is all speculation. No idea. Of saying yes to these sort of requests. So it's frustrating. And then stuff like this happens. And it's just like, I will say I am confident that I am not the only person who thought this. I know I'm not, because my coworkers told me about this, and they were like, "Oh man!" Like,
can I ask you, how often is that rep coming in and bringing things to you guys that you didn't know about that you're stoked to bring into the store?
You probably want to talk to Max and Steven,
sure.
But I think regular on the regular.
Okay,
yeah.
Because when we were talking about this earlier, I was kind of thinking you guys are probably a store that really doesn't need a rep like that.
See, but
if you're requesting stuff and it's one of those things that it seems like you guys are driving the conversation.
I think it's more like it's just a different relationship, and the deeper you go, the more there is to the more ways there are to kind of work together, because a good rep now who really gets us knows what we consider rare, what we get into. Right. I remember one time we missed out on Sierra Nevada Stout coming in, and we were upset about that,
right? Because we weren't sell a lot of that.
Even if we got a little bit,
well,
that's a beer that we would care about. So a good rep would be oh, this came in, or what if hey, this just dropped. This is really fresh. 90-minute. Just landed, and I know that we're out from Dogfish Head or something.
Heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, so we're super low on stock, and we just got a new shipment in, because this was at 5 cases yesterday, and now it's at 155 cases. If you order it, you're going to get it the next day after it dropped. There's a good chance it's going to be really fresh. That could be kind of cool. That's something a good rep can tell us. It's she's not telling us that, or they're not telling us that 90-minute exists. It's hey, this could be a cool opportunity. You want to give it a shot? And we're yeah, let's go. So we need those people to do that sort of stuff. You can't do that from the website, which is what they all want you to order from.
Sure.
Right.
They're trying to push you to order from.
And there's no way to you can see low stock levels, but you don't know what that's set to. And they could just turn that off whenever they want,
Right.
And it sucks, And then who are you going to ask? What are the dates on these things? So I guess what you could do is just order everything every week and just send back 80% of it because you don't like the dates. That would make me...
That's old school.
Yeah.
That's make me, OG.
Yeah, right?
Beer Temple stuff. But getting back to what I was saying a little bit before, I think there were a lot of people who were thinking that. I think a lot of people
have said that to their reps over many, different similar issues. And I felt like I'm sitting here waiting to get my oil changed. I put it out there. I then thought about, should I set it on my personal account instead of the business account? And then I was just like, you know what, F it.
How frustrating is it? Because like breweries essentially get to control the majority of their brand perception, right? And as a store, you've put a lot of your brand perception on, we have really fresh beer. Like everything, if you come in here and it needs to be fresh, it's going to be fresh. Like if it's not fresh, we either throw it away or we send it back. So dealing with a distributor, but it seems like you think doesn't totally care or isn't as attuned to that as you. How frustrating is it that like some of the percentage of the brand representation of Beer Temple is out of your hands because they keep changing these reps or because they don't care about the same things you care about?
Well, I use freshness as an example, but I'm not going to go and say that we're getting old beer. So old beer, we were talking about this the other day. So it used to be really, like dates used to be really bad like 10 years ago. And then it has slowly gotten better. And like maybe like a little bit before the pandemic, like dates were just like on fire. Like we really stopped having to like police it, and it was great. And now we're finding we have to start looking at it again. Like dates are not as good as they used to be. Yeah. Which is surprising and kind of frustrating. But like, okay, we have to be on top of this.
Well, everything's recalibrating, to be fair to the producers and the distributors. It's
100%.
like trying to figure out how much is going to pull through where is
and
it's
it's
a
not
whole different new game.
It's not where it was 10 years ago. Nowhere even close. I don't want to say that.
Yeah.
It's way, way better. I'm just saying it's starting to get worse. Maybe it's a temporary thing. Who knows? It could be a million things that are for a million reasons. I'm not saying this is even a long-term thing, but that said, I'm not just talking, pardon me, I said burp into the mic. I'm not just talking about dates. I'm talking about willingness to bring in new stuff,
right.
Willingness to, I guess it just doesn't, they don't need to. They don't need to.
Right. Because like they don't have to, right?
They don't have to.
It's I burp into that.
Yeah.
But I mean, and again, like part of the reason they can shift people that are your reps around is that they don't really care about craft beer.
No.
That's something we talked about. I think we should have a conversation with Doug again because Doug doesn't think big beer won. Our friend of the show, Doug, and it's hard to see through the distribution lens, at least, that it didn't. Like, there's certainly outlets for craft beer that didn't exist before, as you guys talked about last week.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certainly like a more robust.
Yeah. Without Doug being here, I think it's, I guess maybe it's.
Yeah, we don't have to litigate that right now, but
related. And I think when we do that, we're going to see that we're scoring the game, so to speak, or the war in different ways. You and I and he. And so that's why I think we could both technically be right by our own scores. But yeah, I think I'm with you on what I'm talking about here. It's like these are big beer moves. These are that are happening. This is and perception of choice. This is narrowing the set. This is narrowing choice. This is really, taking some of these regional players and making them act like big boys now, because it's like, well, we need to know your set a year in advance, and you can only have these many SKUs. I'm pulling all this out of my ass, by the way, guys. Like, I don't know if this is how it goes. I'm just saying, like, this is how I'm seeing it going, and,
Well, when I was reading through responses to your tweet, something that came up was the difference between beer and wine distribution, too, and how labor-intensive wine distribution is. And how what you are experiencing, this specific tweet was about how they're trying to make beer distribution not labor intensive, right? They're trying to ease like the costs of having knowledgeable people go out and present things to retailers. And
I can see why.
Of course.
Beer's more commodity priced. You can pay a rep to have in wine to have all this crazy knowledge and just tack it on at the end. Because,
right, and you're selling $20 bottles, like $10-$20 bottles at the low end, so there's more money to be made at each swipe at it. But, it's another thing where it's like that's holding back high-end craft beer or artisanal craft beer.
Come on. We've been having reps forever that come into places. And the fact that they can't know about craft beer, they can't, be knowledgeable about their book, is insane.
Well, it's also and I don't know a lot of these reps, so I don't want to be mean, but it's like it's their job.
Yes. Now, I will play devil's advocate here because I remember when Breakthrough was in the beer game, and they are one of the hugest spirits and wine distributors frankly, in the country,
I think
but certainly
they were a bellwether
Illinois.
for this, though.
Huh?
I remember when I was working at Pipeworks, we had a meeting with them. I don't know what you were going to say, but when we had a meeting with them, they talked about how we were going to be sold by the same people who sold Bacardi. And that was 2014,
right?
And not that Pipeworks is ever going to go with the sales rep.
And they said that as a
positive. These are the best sales reps we have, and we're like. It was like they don't know anything about what our beers are.
Breakthrough got out of the beer game, and I think that might have been one of the reasons why, because they thought that was something to flex on.
Right.
But what I heard from reps, multiple reps, different reps, who had no knowledge of one another saying this to me was, you can't incentivize these reps, the supplier reps, the brewery reps, the reps for who was with them at the time. I don't want to pick a name that, who do they? They had a Ballast Point, right? So, for example, but not literally, a Ballast Point rep could say, we can't do any incentives for them. We can't incentivize them to sell our beer. And think about that. That's Ballast Point, right? That's big.
Did they sell for a lot of money?
Yeah, they did. They were big. They had a lot of power behind them for a little while.
Right.
And the reps who worked for Ballast Point were trying to get the distributor reps to go in and try to sell handles, try to get placements, all this sort of stuff, and just couldn't get the Breakthrough people to put in the same amount of work that, some of the craft beer distributor reps were doing.
Right, because the individuals that were trying to sell, do you want to spend a bunch of time trying to sell a handle into a place that only has 4 handles, or do you want to sell them 12 cases of Bacardi?
Where your bonus structure for doing that sort of stuff is levels of magnitude higher than I could ever, as a Ballast Point rep, offer you. What could I give you? $75, $50 for a tap handle? It's like, they don't care. They're getting 4-figure bonuses if they hit their Jameson number.
Right.
It's like it's like you're not going to get them to do it. So I think that these things also exist for AB, Miller Coors. You're saying it's your job to know it, and you're like, it's my job to sell what my employer wants me to focus on, and they're telling me that by how they're incentivizing me.
Right.
And if they're incentivizing me to move Pickleberry White Claw, then that's what they want me to do. So that's what I'm going to focus on. You ask me a question about Pickleberry White Claw, and I'll answer it for you.
Right.
Well, so it's not necessarily even the rep's fault.
Right.
I think it's higher up. They don't care. No, I take it back. They do care, and they want you focusing on something different. Craft is not a priority to them.
Right.
And for a place like me and for people like us, it sucks.
Right. And there's this is part of the thing when we gripe about craft beer stinks or changed or whatever. It's it's because it's gone to the point where it is big enough that it is part of a line item like that, right? Or part of an incentivization program.
Right.
But it's not so big that it drives those programs.
Right.
So like the thing that we loved because it was like these weirdos making things like in their bathtubs and then starting fatheads or whatever with the same branding as what I gotta stop, I'm sorry. It's grown, it's evolved out of that in a capitalistic sense or an economic sense, but it doesn't suit the things that we specifically care about.
Yeah.
And what honestly I think the category as a whole would be better for if it cared about more.
100%. I think the category would be definitely better.
Yeah. But what are you going to do? Like, there is that third tier, and at any scale, you have to go through the third tier.
Sure.
So,
and when like fine wine is cool, when fine wine isn't cool,
or second tier, I guess.
When this and that, there's still people there who are knowledgeable and want to sell it. And I don't want to lose that in beer. And there certainly are people who care here in beer still. But when the biggest distributor in one of the, if not the biggest beer markets in the country, I think we're the biggest beer market in the country.
Hell yeah.
The biggest distributor, is sending what I would think would be an account of note in some sense, not from a volume.
I'll say
way.
The best curated store,
Whatever
in the state.
We certainly have some sort of cachet. It certainly isn't by like the
This 2014's Beer Evangelist.
What? Yeah,
2014's Chicago Tribune Beer Evangelist.
it's true.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think it's too long before it's ChatGPT is our rep.
This is my suggestion of
Yeah.
a bit we could have done.
Yes.
And maybe we will do.
Right. Maybe we will. Maybe we'll have our new rep on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really all the stuff that's behind it, but I just blasted it out there in a tweet while I was sitting in a waiting room.
Like a Jiffy Lube.
Yeah. So I do feel a little bit bad that somebody had a bad day who I don't think did anything wrong, frankly.
Well, it's not your fault that person had a bad day. Like, you may have sent that tweet out, but, like, you didn't treat that person that way. You liked that person. You said that was a good person. And if they received negative feedback from someone at their company, that's not your fault.
Right. I mean,
That's more indicative of the system not working the way that we think it should than it is that you did something wrong by saying that.
I mean, we can move on from this, but do you have the phone? I mean, read the tweet one more time,
Right.
if you can,
Yeah, it's
fairly quickly. I don't know how easily it is for you to pull it up, but
Right here.
oh, perfect. It's almost like I stalled perfectly while you pulled it up.
How do the big beer distributors feel about craft? I don't know, but I do know that in Chicago, Reyes and craft distributors they acquired are now fully merged and assigned us a new rep across both portfolios who's not, quote, not super knowledgeable about craft.
Okay, so that is a factual. Those are all factual statements. I guess maybe the not super knowledgeable about craft is yet to be seen, but
Sure.
I have inklings that this person may not be.
Mm-hmm.
So,
We'll keep you updated about how this
yeah,
goes.
right. No, we will not. But
we'll have
yeah.
names. We'll have Instagram handles. We'll have addresses.
ChatGPTs.
Yeah. We'll dox this person.
Yeah. So the other thing is, like, I have to work with this company. I want to work with this company.
Right.
There are people at these companies that I do like and I do think really care. So,
I mean, and there is an unfortunate reality that sometimes you have to be kind of a jerk or a little bit louder for your opinion to actually be considered in this forum. I know we've talked about that before, more specifically with emailing about certain beers coming in or whatnot, but
yeah.
I don't know, like, you guys deserve to have a rep who at least is knowledgeable about craft beer.
We do. We have lots of reps who are very knowledgeable about craft beer. It's just I think it's a sign of the times that the reps don't seem to be getting pushed from up above to become more and more knowledgeable. That they're not. I don't hear that as much as I used to.
Education at the distributor level is not as valued as it was maybe.
Well, education
6
about
years ago.
the sort of stuff that we buy.
Sure, right.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't know what they're being. I'm sure they still spend.
I have a friend who
time,
works
yeah.
at like a very large wine distributor, and education about those brands is incredibly important and incredibly
huge.
valued.
I sat in on a couple of those. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome. They had a Zoom meeting about like an internal one, and they just allowed me to sit in on it. It was so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that stuff. I would love if my distributor would allow me to do that with beer. Imagine if they were getting some like education that they allowed their retailers to sit and listen in on.
It'd be amazing.
Be amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah. Should we take a little break?
Let's take a break.
Welcome back to the Beer Temple podcast. I'm your co-host, Mike Shalau from Is Was Brewing. I'm here with the best fader in the game, Fade Master Surge.
The GOAT.
And the GOAT. The Foat. The fadest of all time. He's super faded right now.
No, it's the GOAT.
The greatest fader of
Greatest
all time.
of all faders.
Greatest of all. Goof. Yeah. Yeah.
GOAT.
Of all faders. Yeah.
Greatest of all faders.
Yeah, right. That makes a lot of sense.
Who's the GOAT?
It's got to be Surge.
Who do you think the GOAT is? I don't give a shit. I want to know who the GOAT is.
I did. I met some friends here, like that, just like internet friends from Brewing Winston-Salem called Well Spent, and Surge walked out to get a beer while we were like wrapping up, hanging out, and one of them is an avid listener to the podcast. He's like, "Oh, he's real. It's Surge. He's real."
Surge, well, it's really
Yeah, shout out. They're making a bunch of Czech style lagers, and
dark.
they do make a dark Czech lager. He has some.
Is there any other kind?
He has some words for you about the it being a one brewery style thing, but I'll let him come on the podcast at some point and talk you down.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, Will.
There's lots of them. It's not just that one. What's the name? Ufleku. It's not just Ufleku.
Ufleku.
You know what? Without Ufleku, it'd still be a style, right?
I can't tell if you're joshing me or not.
Would Czech Dark Lager be a style, be a thing without Ufleku?
I'm not an expert, so we should have Tom from Goldfinger and Will on and to talk about it.
I'm down because I'm pretty sure I know what Tom would say.
Yeah, all right.
I'm pretty confident. I could be wrong.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
But we're back with a new segment called
Yes. Is
Letters.
Irish dry stout without Guinness a style? Yes, it is.
That's also one that we a lot of craft breweries tried to make, and some still make one every once in a while. But that's like, no one's trying it anymore. If Ufleku distributed here, maybe there wouldn't be so many Czech dark lagers.
Right. Exactly. Okay.
Or if they were one of the largest breweries in the world.
So we were talking about if we were talking about letters early on and how much we love feedback. We need feedback about what's all the stuff that we already need feedback. We need to pass along
How handsome we are.
how handsome we are. That wasn't one, but
We need
I'll
a lot
add
of
that.
that. I need a
We
lot
need
of
to
that
pass
feedback.
along feedback about the rebranding of
Fatheads.
Fatheads.
Yeah. Swole or
Or
Gordo.
or something else.
Yeah.
He's already Gordo.
Mas Gordo.
Gordo Gigante.
Gigante.
Gigantes. Gordo
Like the
Gigantes. So
Or do you want to see like an Animorph style half fat man, half frog?
I mean, I'd love to see that.
Who doesn't want to see that? Who knows Photoshop can help us out with this?
What if the rebrand is just, it really was the Hop and Frog people, and it was just like, bro, you need more fonts.
Yeah. You guys are only using 4 fonts.
What, like bevels you can put bevels on fonts. Like do that. Like put more
sans
effects.
serif and the serif of the same font.
And then put like all sorts of crazy effects, man. Gaussian blur that
No,
stuff.
you put those guys in the same room, and we got a wingdings label.
Oh my
coming
god,
out.
it'd be amazing. I can read wingdings. I can read them. You write anything in wingdings, I can read it for you. I'm fluent.
That's one of the least surprising things I've ever heard
Yeah,
about you.
fluent. I'm fluent in wingdings.
But don't take this the wrong way. We do love you, fatheads. Please come on the podcast.
Oh, absolutely. And we do have a lot of internal texts about our respect for you. So.
Yeah, it's the most text
True.
about thing, and we make fun of it. We do love your branding.
Absolutely.
We're emotionally attached to it, and I hope you don't change it.
Not too much. I'm very excited for it. Anyway.
Well, I told you I had to change that whole.
Yes.
Never mind. Surge has some breaking news. Okay.
Yeah, I read it.
Oh,
I know what it says.
Yeah, it's wingdings, and Chris knows what it says.
Of course. Yeah, it says we are at 52 minutes. Thank you, Serge. So I think it's probably closer to like 56, I believe, but
I think it's probably about 52.
No, 40.
52 or 34.
Oh, you know what? I swapped the 4 and the 5. I'm sorry.
You are
sorry.
dyslexic, so.
Yes. Wingdex. Wingdexic.
What's dyslexic for wingdings? All right, anyway,
I see
letters.
I see the smiley face as a frowny face, and that totally throws the digit off. So So letters. Oh, the other thing we have to get feedback about is the IP theft video game shit for our glassware.
How do we send out a poll? Is there any way to send out you can do a...
I'm not going to do that.
That sounds like technology.
I'm not going to do that. I'm just saying I'm not going to do that.
All right, well, if you have an idea, write it down on a piece of paper,
but there's other
burn
things.
it on top, and send us a smoke signal.
So here's another thing.
I'm leaning towards
friend
Paul.
of the show, longtime friend of the show, Chris, has written us a letter.
You wrote us a letter?
About a second location. When your old man was on, I was asking him about second location, some of the trials and tribulations and mental gymnastics I was going through, right? Mm-hmm. And I think we said, hey, what do you guys think? Because it would mean a lot if I heard back. So Chris, just one of the greats.
The best.
Yes. Wrote a very thoughtful email,
The only type
electronic letter. That is just under a month old, but I really wanted to get to it because I've been trying to get to it past couple of shows, but this needed its own little section. Yeah. Oh, user session expired, so now it's just going to go away. Perfect.
What?
Well, yeah, I've never seen that happen ever on
You
Gmail.
kicked off your Wi-Fi network?
No. All right, here it is. Okay. Chris.
Good content.
Chris, this is just for you. Oh, and sorry for blowing up. Oh, maybe this isn't meant for this show.
We prepare
Chris,
a lot
this is just for
this.
you. Sorry for blowing up the insider's email this week. I'll shut up after this.
Scanning.
Oh, man. Should I not say this on air? I don't know.
Yeah, probably not if you're second guessing it. Let's move on to the next email.
Okay. All right. Move on to the next one. Sorry, Chris. Thank you very much for the letter. Yes. It's very, very thoughtful. I appreciate it very much. Okay. Next letter.
You read the whole thing?
Well, I started reading it, and I was like, oh, I want to read it on air, Yeah. And I often I sometimes read it right beforehand. You got to the point of,
this is just for you, and you're like, nah, I should read this on air.
No, I did read it. The funny thing is I did read it. I'm just kind of a jackass. I guess I didn't notice that this is just for you. I guess I thought he was writing it just to me, not... Yeah.
I mean, he did send it to insiders, so blow up his spot. Does it have his address on there?
No.
I'm kidding.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I feel bad. All right, Chris. Well, if there's something that was meant to be read on the air, let me know. And then a month and a week afterwards, I'll tell you what an asshole I am. Okay. So So just remember, when you're listening before about my critiques of, the 3-tier system, just remember, the same guy who is this much of an asshole. Same dude. Okay.
I'm complicit too because I was like, I'm never like, send me the emails beforehand. It's just like,
right. Okay.
let them rip.
This is an idea for an episode idea.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, Mike, and Serge. I come bearing an episode suggestion / request. I'd love to have an episode to hear about your favorite. Yeah, I'd love to hear about your favorite beer things to do in Belgium. I know both of you, as well as a number of guests, have told stories and mentioned places you like to go, but it would be great to have them all in one episode. I'm making a trip this summer, so this is definitely a selfish suggestion. But I am sure that there are other regular listeners who would appreciate the conversation as well. A Belgium-focused episode seems like an obvious place to start, but I am sure other travel-focused episodes would be of interest as well. Thanks, Eli. And I will thank you very much, Eli.
Thanks, Eli.
However you sign the email is how we will refer to you.
We can probably do a full episode about it, but just
I think we can talk about it for a while.
Quick
right now.
is just like, if there's any place you want to go, email them, reach out and tell them why you love that place, and if they would talk to you or give you a little tour or something. Because I was just talking with someone about how hospitable people in Belgium and Europe are when you tell them you love their beer. So if you want to see a place, find the info at and email it and see what happens. You won't get 100% responses, but even if you get 2 or 3 places that are yeah, come by, we'll show you around.
I think we can do a travel episode about Belgium for sure.
Yeah.
If we wanted to do a quick one,
I just want to say these aren't they're not impenetrable places. Especially the breweries. Most of the places you want to go in Belgium specifically are very small family-run businesses for the most part.
Yes.
So they'll let you in and show you around if you're interested in their beers. Mm-hmm. But we can absolutely. Sorry, didn't mean to throw the train off.
You're not at all.
Yeah, find the info at Blaugie or whatever and email them. That's part of the way that I got to see a lot of those places.
100%. I totally agree. That's pretty much what I do when I take my beer trips. I'm taking one to California in a couple weeks, and that's pretty much exactly what I do. Now, I'm not, unlike Mike, I have kind of more of an advantage because I have more, I have probably closer relationships potentially with a wider variety of importers and distributors and reps and stuff like that. So I can be like, hey, can you get me in touch with,
Right. I'm not saying every
Joey
place.
Info, because when I'm doing info at, it's really to him.
I'm not saying every place is going to respond to you yes, please come to our home. You can stay in our beds. But if a couple of them say yeah, you can get a behind the scenes tour of what we do here. It's pretty awesome and very informative to how you can relate to those breweries.
Yeah,
when you see what they actually do every day.
But what if you just are. So if there's any that you're particularly in love with, go and do it. There are a couple places. We should do a show on this, so I'll probably be repeating myself. But why don't we pick a couple places that we think are especially cool? I'll start with a place, and you're going to laugh when I say it, that I've never been to that is high on my list, which is Rodenbach. I think is legendary and awesome. It's just you kind of have to pick the regions and how much you're going to drive. Maybe the overarching thing I would say is a couple days in Brussels and then get out into the countryside. That's what I would do if I'm looking to do like that. I mean, Bruges is also amazing.
You got to remember, this is a very small country. This is a country the size of Massachusetts, essentially. So
but it's still a lot. I mean, you can be driving all over it.
You can drive across the whole thing in an hour and a half.
Oh boy, is that true?
If you go fast enough.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know one way or another.
That's probably not true, but
yeah, it's a lot. I mean, if you're going to be going to Flanders and Wallonia and and kind of all over the place. It can be a lot. So I tend to not get to, and they're also spread out enough where you're only going to be hitting one or two a day.
You can't stop. Yeah, right. You can't stop at every place and do it in an hour and a half, but you can in between them. It's not like you're driving from Chicago to Colorado.
So you're going to be in Brussels, presumably.
Yeah.
You got to hit Cantillon, obviously.
Yep.
I mean, that's the number one, obviously. You got to hit Motor Lambic.
Tree.
Got to hit it.
Just
Tree.
Outside.
Yeah, Tree is great. If you want to, like...
De La Seine.
Yep. De La Seine's there.
Interrupt.
No,
Go.
they're in. That's all in Brussels. So that stuff's cool. If you want to do like the big brewery tour, I mean, I will say for a big brewery tour, Duvel was pretty cool. I mean, because all the Duvel in the entire world just comes out of that one place. Their bottling line is pretty intense. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'd also suggest going to see like the Delirium bars and being like,
I've never been. Yeah,
they're not great, but it's one of those things that like this beer that was like so highly esteemed has these kind of, it has this bar that serves it in plastic cups the same way if you were in some sort of college town at like their like the local like place they're hanging. Like it's like a whole yeah.
Now in Antwerp, there is probably the most famous beer bar in the world called the Culminator in Antwerp.
I've never been.
Would you say it's the most famous beer bar in the world? Certainly, you can make an argument.
It's like Beer Temple, and then probably Culminator.
Not quite as good.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's
most known.
Yeah, I mean the Culminator in Antwerp is high on the list of like bucket list beer bars to get to, and spend some time and just relish in the like craziness of that place. It's going to be messy and weird and old, and just love it, and like go through the book and just pick something that's like random. Don't go for the oldest thing. Just grab like something crazy and then just like watch the process of them getting that beer. We had so much fun doing that. It might take you 15 minutes before you get the beer. It's amazing.
Right. So order something on draft and then...
well, they probably only have a few things on draft.
But
if you get a Westmalle, they have it stacked by the door in like those milk crate looking things, which is kind of neat. Or Westie or any... Get a Westie. That they'll bust open for you real fast. And then if you want to hit a Trappist, that could be cool to do if you want to hit a place like that. But
friend of the show, St. Bernardus, like hit one of those.
Yeah.
Or
if you're going to St. Bernardus, you can go to Thierry. They're very close to one another, so you'd be right over the border in France.
That was a fun place of the world to be. That was like, I didn't realize how kind of isolated that was. Like they did not want to speak English to us.
Yeah. Right.
They knew it. They didn't want to use it.
Yeah.
We were there also on a Sunday where they didn't really
if you are there on a Sunday, there's a bar called the Groot Dorst.
Yes.
It's only open on Sundays or if there's a funeral.
Yes.
And talk about, the insider, like, geek Lambic, probably most famous beer bar. It's not Motor Lambic. It's this place, the Groot Dorst.
Right.
Well, if you like Lambic and you're there on a Sunday, go there. And, like, when we were there was, like, septuagenarians listening to, like, 45s, like, and just, like, dancing and stuff and serving Lambic in earthen pitchers.
Yeah, it's like a time machine.
It was nuts. But then they also had the Boca Rider. Like the only place, only bar I've ever been to. I'm sure there's like a McKellar bar or a place in New York that has it. Seems like they would be cool enough to have it. But it's also at the Groot Dorst. So maybe that tells you something. So they have like the Boca Rider there. And super cool. Super, super cool. All these places that I'm telling you, you'll probably want to look on a map and see which are feasible for you to get to. But all of those are really fun. And then the one place that I didn't get to that I truly lament. And I didn't get there because I had a noon tour booked at the Dole. It was like the highlight of the trip because the brewer's mother was giving the tour, and she was in her 90s at the time. I don't know if she's still alive. And I may or may have not been out drinking till 6 in the morning,
until
maybe.
You got there, yeah.
6 in the morning, I think it was. And
are bars open till 6 in the morning?
well,
right?
that's what we realized was we were drinking until last call, and we realized there is no last call. And we were just going from bar to bar. We were like slowly making our way back, and at some point you can only drink so much beer. And we're like, we need to find a whiskey bar.
Not we need to go to bed.
No. And then friend of mine, it was a lofted space, and a friend of mine took a header off the loft and might have knocked a tooth out and smashed his face up. And
so you should definitely listen to our advice.
Yeah. And then we woke up at 2 p.m. and had missed the tour. So I the Dolle, DEDOLLE, just one of the best brewers of Belgian ale in the world, in Belgium. I really, really want to go there. That is a place I will go at some point in my life. So if I could go right now to any one place in Belgium, that would be the first place I would go to personally. So
I have similar. I missed De La Seine, but not because I got drunk and fell down the stairs, but because I scheduled a Michelin star lunch, 2 Michelin star lunch by it, and we're like, we'll be out of there in 2, maybe 2.5 hours. It's a 4.5 hour lunch because they just we're standing around taking their time, and I was like, well, we'll have at least a couple hours of drinking at De La Seine, and we missed it because we started eating at 11:30 and didn't get out of there until 3:45. It was awesome. It was one of the best meals I've ever had. But I was like, I missed probably my favorite. My favorite beer comes from De La Seine.
I had an insane experience at De La Seine because we went there on the day they were closed, and it was just Yvonne, literally the only one there, gave the 3 of us a tour. We were there for probably 2 or 3 hours. Just hanging out, drinking the freshest De La Seine, and talking to him, which is
sounds terrible.
That's cool. No, it was awesome. It was so fun. It was super cool. But the space itself is nothing compared to
sure.
There's Rodenbach, with the brick lined and the fooder, the brick lined brew kettle and the huge fooders. That's pretty special to see.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Beer Temple Podcast. I'm your co-host, Mike Shalau from the Is Was Brewing. I'm here with the Fadius Fader, Serge, and your co-host, Chris Quinn of the Beer Temple. Oh. And we're going to talk about how
Reyes.
Not us necessarily. No. You know what? Let's really get into the Reyes thing.
Let's get into Reyes.
But not how just us, but the people that we associate with are the best soothsayers, the seers of what's happening in beer right now.
Can I say something before that? I mean, we have other letters.
You can do whatever you want.
But we realized the letters that we have
too good
are kind of need even more time than a letters section. I think they're like half of or an entire show devoted, including kind of the Belgium one, the touring one. So I appreciate that, guys. What I want is lots of little ones like Mega Man, Jabba the Hutt from that Atari version, little things.
Oh yeah, that would be sick.
Yeah, it is funny how we get
Albert Pujols
fits and
from
starts
Backyard Baseball.
with really in-depth, thoughtful emails, and then a bunch of You know what we need to do? More stupid zombie dust jokes, and then we'll get a bunch of like funny.
Stop the show, please. It would be amazing if we
No.
could track like why people are sending us letters and what
So-
we talked about that
So
caused that to happen.
soothsayers. So, as you were saying, we are the soothiest sayers,
The
right?
soothiest, dude.
And I was mentioning how like I think not me. It wasn't me. I was channeling. I go into a trance, and it's not me, and I don't remember anything that was said. But then it's transcribed, and I read it, and I forget most of it. And don't
Chris
notice
Bon
it.
Kenobi.
Mostly like Chris's email to me. I don't even read the first line of it or forget it. But Obi Chris Quinobi, yeah. So like I'm told what he said. And that's how I remember it. But he nailed some stuff. And I know, yes, brand extensions were a thing. The Ninja series, the Fish series of Pipeworks. Everybody knows that was a
The
brand
Hero
extension.
series of Revolution.
Yes. But it has absolutely exploded.
May I take a second to say I love that we're taking a victory lap in February of a year
Already. but there's an important brand extension that has come out. That's why I'm doing this. Yeah, we're doing a brand extension because
the most important brand extension, period.
Zombo has a brand
The
extension.
coldest, crispiest Zombo.
Zombie Ice.
An even more undead IPA.
I mean, come on. Even Dust has a brand extension at this
Do you guys
point.
have it?
We do. It's good.
I'll be back.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah, there you go. Oh, there you go. They can't see you leaving. Okay, he's leaving. He did leave, so now I have to be by myself. So here is what I'm thinking is talk about, I'll have to sit and swivel and talk to Serge now. What would you do? How crazy would you freak out if you were at a Blackhawks game and the Zamboni was now a Zomboni for Zombo? And what's it on? It's on the ice. It's gliding over the ice. So now you have Zombo Ice. So I'm just going to say that one's for free, but make it happen, Three Floyds. You have to have a Zombie Dust, Zombie Ice, Zamboni deal. You have to do some sort of sponsor. You have to sponsor the Zamboni.
Sold out.
Oh, we have some extra cans, but it's fine. You can have some. He did actually leave and just leave me to start talking about Zombo Ice. But think about the Zomboni.
I'm committed.
The Zomboni. It's
That's
on the
some
ice.
great brand sponsorship.
Thanks. That goes to that was a co-creation with Chris Jecka. Came up with that one.
Oh wow! I saw him here today.
That's when I heard about that.
He said, "Hey,
today.
you fucker," and then he left.
Oh, yeah. So, yes. So, killed it there. Also, I think Shayna
Yes.
and I were not I. Again, I'm talking as if I were possessed.
Owan Kenobi Chris.
Yeah. Obi Chris Quinobi.
Right. That's what I said.
Yeah. Yep. No, I heard you. I was
Yeah.
just repeating what you
Just
said.
nailing it.
And she was talking about how something along the lines of how breweries were going to, what was it, like close some of their acquisitions or something like that.
Something along the lines of like acquiring brands rather than like the actual assets for the brewery or the brewery.
Yeah, I think that was kind of my take on it. And lo and behold, one of the AB assets, Platform Brewing in Ohio, is closing down operations. Yet its IPAs will continue to be brewed, just not there. So Platform IPAs in this place made over 20,000 barrels last year. Going to continue. The brand will live on. So it's interesting, Goose Island, AB really did learn from Rolling Rock when they shut down the plant. They learned that you just have to do it a little bit more slowly and say you're not going to do it first.
Right, and doing the Rust Belt so that they, people won't.
They're already deadened
Yeah.
by everything else closing and leaving.
They're like, oh, should we worry about the airborne toxic event or the smelting facility that blew up or the brewery that's closing down? They're like, we should shut down now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have learned. Yeah. I hope you. So here's the other thing. I hope
doing great.
You guys have learned, because guess what? I'm going to take another victory lap on this.
Let's go do another one.
Because you know who was on this show?
Did you guys see the American flag just like flapping on his back?
Being told that I didn't get it, and that it's different this time, and that we've learned from those mistakes.
Tony McGee.
And so many, just generally, when these breweries were bought, when this stuff happened, like, it's not like that anymore. Well, guess what? It's always like that.
It's always like that.
It's always like that. And remember this when you're listening, whoever's listening, when you hear it the next time, the person who says it is going to be emphatic.
Right.
And maybe believe what they're saying.
You're going to believe. They're going to want you to believe they believe what they're saying, but they don't.
They may believe what they're saying. They may. Yeah. Sometimes, I'm telling you, some of the people who were getting in arguments and getting heated about how it's a great move because it's going to be great for craft beer and blah, blah, blah. They're wrong. They are wrong.
Yeah.
They're wrong. It always ends up. They didn't buy it because they don't want to touch. Why would we want to change anything? We love the company as it is. That's why we bought it. That's not true. It's never true.
It's not how it works.
Never true.
They can see like an angle to make.
Now there are gradations, but it's more the exception than the rule. And there are people who like kind of leave stuff more or less alone and help them out and give them some economies of scale and stuff like that. But I do think Unibrew. I think Unibrew has. I know I don't know the story that closely, but it seems like they're pretty much intact. Sapporo didn't really mess with them, but I don't think and I don't know like about the Duvel stuff. Like I don't know how that's really gone that closely, but they keep that stuff pretty tight to the. I mean, the Belgians don't divulge much info, but I do know that like In all of those cases, you're right. You're feeling like, oh, man, I love this about that, and now that's going to change. You're probably right.
Right. You also shouldn't.
It might change to something still good, but it's going to change.
And you shouldn't feel like a sucker for having an emotional attachment to things that then end up going that way, right? Like I feel like that's like you and I have talked about. I don't know if it's necessarily on the show, but like it felt really bad to feel like a naive sucker to be like, I had an emotional attachment to that place that made this beer in this way, and it's like, well,
we've had that
you should have known it was going to change. It's like, well, they said it wasn't going to change, and I didn't want it to change, and
they were saying,
and what they bought was your emotional attachment to it, right?
And also, but
partially
it's even more than that. Mike, they were not saying that it wasn't going to change. They were saying the whole reason they existed was to be counter to the whole idea that it's going to change. Right. Like we exist because we don't want it to change. We want to create a new way of doing it. And then when it all goes the same way, they all like bow to the, the pressures. I get it, but
it becomes like the one of us. You're so up high. You're so high up here.
But anyway, we're talking about this. This isn't much of a victory lap, Mike.
No, this is not a victory lap at all.
This is not much of a victory lap. So I'm just saying.
Well, you win when you lose in some of these predictions.
I'm just saying, like Obi Chris Quinobi. I mean, I don't know. Might be the premier fortune teller beer fortune teller in Chicago. I don't know of any others, but I think
Best one I know on this podcast.
Yeah, me too. That's what I'm saying. Shots fired. Just saying.
Maybe we should go on some other podcasts and.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do a
Spread the
tour.
word.
Maybe we'll do a tour. Maybe I'll do like a soothsaying predictions tour, podcast tour. I've got a guy. He can set me up with a few.
Yeah.
He can set me up with the rounds.
Send some emails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not just
That's what you want to do.
Not
with
just,
your life.
not just like local Chicago podcasts.
No.
Unnamed ones.
Yeah, unnamed local Chicago podcast.
We are not bitter people, Mike. That's what I want everyone to know. That's the
We
most
really
important
aren't,
thing.
but like on the show sometimes.
Oh, I'm kidding. Because now we're literally talking to one person. It's so stupid.
And we know he's gonna listen to all this. We're
And he's
sorry.
a great friend.
Yeah.
We're teasing. I think the show may be over.
I think it's over. Play that music, Serge.
Is that all right? We're done. I guess that's how we end it. All right, guys. So long. They've already stopped. I'm sure they already stopped it, but we will see you next week with a maybe slightly more buttoned up show. We actually have. Well, let's get out of here.
Sometimes.
Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.